Well, today on Rethink Real Estate, it's Tyler Davis. Tyler is the founder of Met Group Real Estate out of Phoenix, Arizona. Tyler is only 24 years of age, and he goes through that here in the episode a little bit further, is that he's been in real estate since he just turned 19 and chose to move out of a place that he knows people in and move into a completely different place and start from scratch. So I really do believe that that's the benefit of the takeaway here today, is moving at such a young age in order to start real estate, in order to do, the production that he's doing at the moment is absolutely impressive considering he's starting from scratch. The other thing I will state as well is that a very great look and good language around the real estate marketplace in the Phoenix, Arizona market at the moment is the second most price reduced market in all of the US. And he definitely dives into some of the challenges that he's facing at the moment. And we go through a little bit more of the structure. We talk about his decision not to build a team so quickly as what you see some of these other people do. And we talk about some of the goals moving forward. Hopefully you enjoy. Welcome to Rethink Real Estate. My name is Ben Brady, and this is a real estate podcast aimed to deliver sales strategies, marketing tips, and business insights from industry experts and myself to build a listing-focused business for the future. Let's get into it. Tyler, welcome to Rethink Real Estate.
Thank you for having me.
So I want to dive straight into it. I want to get deep and dirty really quickly, because I think the thing that there's no doubt about that you guys sell quite a lot of real estate within the Phoenix, Arizona marketplace and the surrounding areas as well. Is it as bad as what people are saying at the moment? Now, again, we're recording this, in, the end of June, so to speak, coming into, 4th of July. So is it as bad as what everybody's making it out to be?
I wouldn't say it's as bad. Now, really, it's a unique market. And the reason I say this is because there's so many people on the sidelines. Arizona has a ton of stuff moving to it. I mean, Taiwan Semiconductor Factory, it's arguably one of the largest projects in the world going on right now. It's
Right.
a $160 billion project. They're moving headquarters from Taiwan to Arizona. So when we look at the future, there's quite a bit of improvement and growth here in Arizona. Now, that being said, because we're a state so focused on, or we are traditionally a state so focused on snowbirds, retirees, things like that, we've seen a shift over the years. So as we get into a younger demographic, more of a startup culture here in the Phoenix, Scottsdale, greater area, we're seeing a lot more apartment complexes tailored to that. Now, the reason I bring up apartment complexes tailored to that, they're offering amazing incentives right now. So if you were to take, let's say, two people, you've got, or two products, you've got the opportunity to purchase a house, or you have the opportunity to move into a luxury apartment. Right now, a lot of people are taking the second option of moving into a luxury apartment, but they do want to purchase a home. That being said, we're seeing prices drop, list prices drop, I should say. We aren't seeing prices drop quite yet. We're seeing list prices drop, but I think that's because everything was so overinflated for so long. Airbnb was extremely popular. We started in Old Town Scottsdale, where you could pick up a house for, let's say, $500,000 to $600,000. Airbnb came to the market, and people were buying them left and right. I mean, money was essentially free back when interest rates were 2.5%, 3%. So that $500,000 to $600,000 property now is $900,000 to $1 million. Is it worth it? You could argue one way or another. I personally don't believe so. So I'd say we're in more of a corrective period, because you look at other parts of the market just outside Paradise Valley, which is one of the more affluent parts of Arizona. The cities bordering that are seeing large growth, and I think that's justified. So there's really no right or wrong answer. We are still seeing properties move, but buyers do have an advantage right now.
So let's talk about stuff that you're doing in your business then, in order to, you adapting. I think that there's a part of this where, Aaron Hodson, who's a friend of the podcast and a friend of obviously all of our businesses, put us in touch together. And obviously he works with people that are relatively high performers in the perspective of volume, but also in the perspective of just the way that they conduct their business. Now, the one thing that I would go as far as to say is that from a skill set perspective, you're probably one of those agents that can pivot and does have a bit of muscle memory around when the marketplace wasn't as buoyant as what it once was. And you have to have those educational experiences with the sellers. Okay. Now, a lot of agents don't know how to shift their business into going from multiple offers to okay, now I need to tell a seller their home isn't worth anywhere near what they ultimately wanted for it. So what are some of the fundamental changes that you're making within your business in order to, have those conversations on a daily basis or identify whether a property is right or wrong to put on the marketplace right now? Because I think that's another thing is realizing a bad investment of what possibly could be your time.
Yeah.
If you're putting it on the market. These are all things people haven't had to consider for years. So how are you guys doing things differently to what you were doing them, say, 2 or 3 years ago?
Yeah, so it's interesting because, like you had mentioned, coming in, I've always done referral-based business, and when I got in at 18 years old, right out of high school. I had moved down to Arizona, and that was in 2019.
Right.
I had moved down here, started my business, and when I had started, it was a unique time because I came in and we were right at the brink of COVID. Nobody knew it. Luckily, I'd gotten into it pretty good. We're right in Old Town Scottsdale, which is a high foot traffic area. So I was getting a lot of walk-in leads. From there, my business, COVID happened, and I thought, what the hell am I doing? I've just gotten into an industry solely based off of finances. COVID is going to ruin everything. And then, lo and behold, Arizona blew up, and it was extremely fast. You were making, well, I wasn't, but a lot of people were making irrational decisions with waiving inspection, waiving appraisal, just get the offer done. And at that time, I had started working with Aaron, and Aaron's whole philosophy was it's a relationship-based business. And so focus on the relationship, don't focus on the deal as much, because deals will come as long as you are true to yourself and true to your clients. So as we went through that period of extremely fast turnaround, my whole goal was focusing on what is best for the client. And I've carried that on. Obviously, we had the high, and then when it switched, it was a unique market. I don't think anything changed for me as far as my mindset, because really the goal at the end of the day was how can I help the client and put them in the best financial position. So when it comes to listing properties now, where we aren't getting multiple offers, it first starts with a consultation, sitting down, setting expectations of what's the market doing today. And in all honesty, it's different from every subsector, and every subdivision is completely different.
Right.
So we set the foundation there. Once we've gotten that foundation, it's about building a marketing plan around that. Every neighborhood is completely different. So we build a marketing plan. We've got a strategy for price reduction if there's an expectation of price reduction. As you know, Phoenix is we have the second highest volume of price reductions out of any city in US.
Yeah.
So setting those expectations is extremely important. Now, as far as my marketing and how has it changed? Well, it really hasn't. And that's because from the start, it was create a phenomenal product when I put it out and get it into a position where I will get as many eyes on it as possible. More eyes turn to more leads turn to more closings.
Yep.
So it was easier before. Obviously, it's not happening as quick now, but I've still got that same foundation that's helped me push through the challenges. And really, it comes down to what does the client feel? And as long as you manage emotions, it turns out to be pretty decent.
So give me an understanding then of what your sort of primary bread and butter is from a marketplace perspective. Because the thing that I think is amazing about the Phoenix Scottsdale area is that you've got, $3, $4, $5, $6 million properties, but then you've got 2, 3, $400,000 properties as well. There is a very big shift in the polar difference, and it happens very like it's interesting to go into those desert marketplaces, so to speak. Like for example, like we've got a fair bit of exposure within the the Coachella Valley, being Palm Springs, Rancho Mirage, and so on and so forth. Is that you have a lot of low end stuff, but then you also have a great deal of high end luxury as well.
Yeah.
So, what does your marketplace look like? What have you sort of targeted your business around?
So I would say my bread and butter is anywhere from the 750 to 2 million.
Right.
Uh, I when I had originally started out, I was doing any and everything, and I do enjoy that. I mean, I still help a lot of friends who are first time home buyers. I still help clients that I sold previously, but my focused marketplace is 750 to 2 million. The reason I like it is because typically these people have bought multiple homes in the past. They know what they want. They're a little bit easier to work with. And that I feel in Arizona is prime real estate.
Right.
When, of course, as you go over 2 million, those homes exist. For example, I've got a listing right now that's just under 7 million.
Yep.
Now, it takes a lot more preparation to get that to the closing table.
Sure.
I'm not afraid of it, but I like that bread and butter kind of turn and burn mentality where I've always got something going.
Yeah, well, I think the bigger ones can become time vampires as well. There's
Exactly.
no doubt about that. Yeah.
Yeah,
There's no doubt
and
about
I love it. I truly love it. It's a pleasure every time I get to show the property. But we've been on the market for 190 days versus I just recently sold a property. I represented the buyer purchasing the home. He renovated it. 6 months later, I brought in with this now renovated home seller in hand. I brought in a buyer, and I sold the home twice in 6 months.
Yeah, perfect.
It was phenomenal, and it's nice and easy. Happy buyers, happy seller, and I can continue that a lot more fluidly compared to the larger properties. And then smaller properties, you obviously have the financial constraints as well of the buyer seller, and it presents a new set of challenges when you get to the lower end.
So let's talk about your age for a minute. Obviously,
Yeah.
that's something that is not familiar to the North American marketplace. Don't get me wrong, where we're from in Australia and New Zealand, I got into real estate incredibly young also, but it's common. It is a common thing. The average age of a realtor in Australia and New Zealand would probably be 15 to 20 years below the average that it is here in North America.
Yep.
It seems to be also that, real estate is something that if you were to take into consideration the real estate industry, and I say this quite regularly, it's kind of the industry of misfits in the sense that someone's either retired, someone's either left a career, it's been their backup plan, so to speak,
Exactly.
right? Versus their primary decision in the first case of things. So what was the thought process? Now, where did you move from down to Arizona? You were 18 years of age, you came into things. Give us the understanding of why real estate and how it's gotten to you where you are now.
Yeah, so a little bit of backstory. Grew up in a family of entrepreneurs. My dad owns a construction company, and my mom worked for it. My grandfather, he owned a consulting agency. So I've always been around that. And throughout starting in elementary school, before I could even get a job, my parents were influencing me to try entrepreneurial things. So it started out, there was a trend, oh gosh, like 15, 20 years ago, it was paracord bracelets. So what I'd do, I'd take paracord, the stuff you use for skydiving, turn it into a bracelet. So through sixth grade, I was selling that until the school sat me down and said, you can't sell stuff at school anymore. Okay, so that shifted. And then I started doing yard work.
Right.
From there, it grew into more, I guess, a larger business. I was doing fences. So up in Seattle, the cedar fences are popular. My dad, being in the construction industry, taught me how to make a cedar fence. And so I'd go around to all the neighbors. At this time, the neighborhood I lived in was about 15 years old. So everybody needed a new fence.
Yep.
So I'd go house to house, redoing fences. Now, from there, my dad gave me an opportunity that I will forever be thankful for. I was about 16 years old at the time. And he said, I want you to learn how to budget, plan all your finances.
Right.
So what we did is he said, let's go out and find a flip house, but you have to run all the numbers. So at 16 years old, scoured the market, and found a property that seemed to work. So he helped me build a spreadsheet. We built it out. We figured out the cost of renovation. Sure enough, it worked out great. And I sold it, made a decent amount of profit on that,
Great.
and then rolled it into a clothing company, something I was passionate about, design. And I ran the clothing company from the age of 16 to about like 18 ish when I graduated high school. And at that point, the clothing company, I will say, is my favorite failure ever because I took the money that I made from the flip, I lost it all. It taught me so many amazing things, but it taught me that, you know what, this is not an industry I want to pursue.
Right.
And so I looked around at the people around me, and my neighbor at the time, he was one of the top producing agents up in Washington, and he was living a great life. He was always excited about his job. There's a fair bit of problem solving involved. And so I got to talking to him and decided, you know what, I don't like Washington, but what I do like is sun. So Arizona is a great place for me to come to, and I'd like to pursue real estate. Originally, I was going to do property management just to get my feet wet, understand the market. Very quickly realized I would be bored out of my mind. So I said, screw it, I'm going to jump all in, and got my license, became an agent 2 days before my 19th birthday. And then 2 days after my 19th birthday, had my first deal in escrow.
Oh, nice. Very good. There you go. That's a pretty good timeline.
Yeah, it was a little, I would say it was beginner's luck. Right place, right time. Somebody walked into the office and they were ready to go. So we went out.
The thing that I wanted to ask though is that where did you start in real estate versus where are you now? Because now you have the Met Group Real Estate.
Yeah.
What's your team structure look like now?
So it's interesting. This is something that I've been exploring. When I originally got into real estate, the idea was, and like you said, with the misfits, there's a lot of people who get into real estate, and their whole goal is, hey, I don't fit in all these other boxes. Let me try something in real estate. Sounds fun. That wasn't how I got into it. What I got into it was, this is a great way for me to express my creativity. I love architecture, I love design, and I love people in sales. So it all merged together seamlessly.
Right.
And I wanted to build a business out of it. When I got in, the goal was grow my personal business, branch out into a team. Now, as time has gone, I've brought on a couple people to the team, and it's not quite what I had expected. And I think this is just a personal thing. My expectations for myself when I run a business is you do what you say plus some. And I've quickly realized as people get into real estate, it's a 1099 industry. I mean, you're self-employed, and I only have so much control. And when I don't have the control, or I don't see people executing tasks to the degree that I would, it's created some challenges. So that's still something I'm working out. Now, I do have two people on the team now. They're phenomenal. Pablo, he's my right-hand man. We run a car show together. We do a lot of business together. And I just brought on this girl, Stella, who is actually a daughter of one of my clients. He's phenomenal, and she is too. So it's more of the organic approach to the team versus.
I do, and it's also one of those things that Aaron's probably spoken to you about. This is that I think that we get to see a lot of agents and we get to deal with a lot of agents, and like I'll give you an example. I'll give you an example of this, Tyler, that drives me absolutely fucking crazy. By the way, is that we have a situation where, like, we have a non-distressed auction business that we run, and we deal with a lot of agents external to that. But the reality is that we've got a property at the moment. It's in Tennessee. It's a apartment complex, and it's a $9 million deal. Like, it's a big deal. And I asked them, the 5 people that are involved in one team, well, who gets the phone calls?
Yeah.
And they're like, well, it rings on our office line, and then it's sort of round robins, and whoever picks it up first gets it. That is the worst thing I could ever hear if I was an owner of that property, knowing
Yeah.
that nobody is actually responsible for the notion of actually picking up the property. And it happens everywhere. Like it's amazing that when people build a team, they're trying to do real estate at arm's length. They're
Yep.
trying to be as far away from the transaction as possible. So to do it slowly, to do it in the sense that you still want to be involved and have control and have your hands on the deal, I think that that's got to be something that makes a lot more sense than just getting randoms on the team.
Definitely. When I got into it, that was the original goal. Obviously, you go through trials and tribulations. You have people who fit the team, you have people who don't. But as I've learned, there's a few key characteristics of people that I think you can point out right away that are at least identifiers of somebody who's going to be good. Now, people with these characteristics, they aren't always going to be good, but somebody who doesn't have those characteristics for sure won't be good. So it's almost like it's I don't know how to phrase it, but it's a luck of the draw, and
Yeah.
you can do your best to get your hand right or get your
Have
cards right.
have you ever had a seller that you thought, oh wow, they're really high in price, and you take them on, and then 2 weeks later you actually find out they're far more motivated than possible? Now, in that listing presentation, you would have told them that no, there's no chance you're getting anything near that. But if
Yep.
you did tell them that, then ultimately you would never had an opportunity to educate them. And I think that that's one of the same things with people is that I don't care what anyone says. We've done a lot of hiring and firing, but the
Yep.
reality is I don't think you can tell from the very beginning. Like I've had my expectations completely shattered based on somebody, and I've had them completely surpassed by somebody as well. I think it just comes back down to trial and error is probably the wrong word to use or phrase to use when you're talking about humans, but certainly believe that's the case. But I
Most
guess in
definitely.
in rounding out this, I really want to get an understanding from you. What is and maybe you might tell me that it's none of my business, and maybe you might tell me you don't know, but what is right now, call it we're in July 2025, basically. What does the end of the year look like for you from a production and a volume perspective? And then what does it look like in 5 years?
So, end of year, I would say production's going to be right around the ballpark of 10 million. So, coming into this year, it's been a roller coaster of a year. And Aaron and I talk about this. We look at the quarters, not the months, and that's something that's difficult for me because coming into January, didn't have any deals. Then
Yep.
I was 4 in escrow, 2 in escrow, 1 in escrow, 0, then 5. So it's all over the place. Now looking at the pipeline, I've got about 30 million in the pipeline. How many of those are going to close? I'd say about 33%. So I would estimate about 10 million for the rest of the year.
Okay.
Now, if something economically changes, if interest rates drop, I have so many buyers on the sidelines ready to make the jump. But for the foreseeable future, I'm guessing around 10 million.
And then
Now,
5 years.
okay,
5 years. What do you like for 5 years? What does it look like? What does Met Group look like in 5 years?
believe it or not, 5 years I'll probably be out of real estate. So
Okay. Well, there you go.
yeah, so big thing for me. I truly, truly enjoy real estate. Now, for me, I'm 24 years old, and I'm slowly but surely building my life. And as I progress through life, soon to be engaged and married, soon to have kids. It's something where I've built my business so strongly off of connections and fostering connections with people that goes beyond the 9 to 5. I'll pick up the phone at 5 a.m. I'll pick up the phone at 10 p.m. I don't foresee that being in the future. Another factor for me is with real estate. If I have a $50 million book of business, let's say, if I were to turn around and want to sell that, it's worth 0.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm working on other companies or another company, not other companies, but another company that I think has the opportunity to scale similar to real estate, but have a value at the end where I could maybe have an exit strategy.
Yeah.
I originally was going to do that with a team, build up a team, start a brokerage, have that brokerage be in a position where it could sell. But trial and error. It doesn't feel like the path for me. Now, that being said, up until that 5 year mark, I'll be chugging along with real estate. I truly, truly enjoy it. I just don't know if I'll enjoy it the same that I do today in 5 years.
It's a really good. It's a mature way of looking at it, because I think that that's one of the things that you do as a disservice as an agent is stay longer than your passion
Yeah.
desires you to be in the industry, and then I think that ultimately affects what your clients then get out of you, of course. Now, I think that the other part that I just want to point out is that having something else to do and use real estate as a means to do that is something that not a lot of people would be sitting here going, well, no, real estate's a career. Like, you've got to keep doing it. It's like, not necessarily great for cash flow, but like you said, to have that understanding that, like, all of these agents that try to sell their business when they leave and try and hand it over to somebody, I would go as far as to say that in anything that I've ever seen or be involved in, 90% of them turn into absolute steaming piles of shit. Like, it
Yep.
just becomes a problem.
I mean, at the end of the day, I've built my business not off of, I haven't spent a dollar on lead generation. It is all referral based, connection based, networking, marketing. It's all through a personal, it's all through personal. And that being said, if I were to go and sell that to somebody, who's to say they're going to have my personality? Especially here in Arizona. I mean, there's 90,000 licensed agents.
Yeah.
I might be the first option for somebody, but they've got a very close second. So that's something that I have to focus on in my business. Make sure I hold that first position. But if I leave, they're going to go to the close second. They aren't going to go to the person that I sell my database to.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah. Well, Tyler, thank you so much for jumping on to Rethink Real Estate. It's been a pleasure actually to get to know you and understand your business and your journey. I think that it's very inspirational for a lot of people that are listening in, but thanks for joining us on Rethink Real Estate.
Well, I really appreciate it, Ben.
So about 75% of our audience hasn't liked, followed, or subscribed to our podcast. It would mean the world to us, and it would help this podcast more than you know to expand our reach if you were to like, follow, or subscribe on any of the platforms that you're watching or listening on. Thanks again.